God is the healer, and it is his intent for man to live without sickness and disease. Where did sickness and disease come from? Because we live in a world that is full of sickness and disease, and we are surrounded by sickness and disease everywhere we look. Every single person knows someone who is sick. So where did sickness and disease come from? So all sickness and disease came from the fall of mankind. So Adam and Eve were given authority to rule and reign over the earth. And Satan came and deceived Adam and caused him to disobey God and caused him to sin. And in doing so, what happened was Adam actually surrendered his rulership over the earth to Satan. And so mankind was put originally by God into a kingdom that was perfect. That was the kingdom of God manifested on the earth. It was perfect. And when Adam and Eve sinned, they surrendered their authority over that kingdom to another king. And so instantly, all of mankind, because it was just Adam and Eve at the time, all of mankind was pulled into an entirely different kingdom. And that kingdom has a different king. And Satan is the prince and the power of the air because he stole the authority to rule over this earth from Adam and Eve. It isn't his rightfully. And so all of the brokenness and dysfunction that we see every day in the earth, those are all characteristics of the nature of Satan. Those are not the characteristics of God at all. And so brokenness in relationships, brokenness in our bodies, meaning sickness and disease, are all things that came from this kingdom of darkness, from the new king, from Satan. But that is not the heart of God for us. So just as I'm thinking, this sickness is anything that affects our bodies, that causes our bodies not to act in their natural state during the course of our lifetime. Now, God is so kind and he's so merciful to us that even though we live in this broken world, he gave us an immune system so that when we get sick or when we get a cut on our finger or our arm or something, our body fights to bring us back into health, because health is the normal state of being for the human body. Sickness is not the normal state of being. So if sickness was the heart of God and that was something that he had for us, we would see sickness being the way our bodies would go back to. But instead, when something comes against our bodies, we see our bodies fighting and resisting that sickness and returning itself back to health. And so that's sickness and disease and affliction came from the fall of mankind. So now that we have that, now that man has sinned and we do have sickness and disease as part of our experience, what did God do to remedy that? It is called the atonement of Jesus Christ. He became a man, became Jesus. Jesus, I want to say clearly, is fully God and he is fully man. And so he became a man so that he could win back the authority that Adam and Eve lost. So because man was given authority to rule the earth by God, and man lost that, he surrendered that to the enemy. It takes a man to win that back or take that authority back from Satan. And so what God did is he entered into the human race, became a man himself. He was still fully God, but he resisted accessing his qualities and his characteristics as God, his privileges, his power as God. And he operated and lived on the earth fully as a man with the same restrictions that you have and that I have. And by doing so, he lived in perfect obedience. It says in Philippians 2 that he perfectly obeyed his Father, even unto death. And we know that Jesus was without sin. So it was disobedience and sin that caused Adam to lose the authority that he had. So it takes obedience and sinlessness from a man to win that back from Satan. And that's exactly what Jesus did. And so Jesus lived through his life perfectly, without sin, and in perfect obedience to his Father. And he ended up dying on the cross. And it was through the cross that he took back from the enemy the keys to the earth and to rule over the earth again. So that is God's redemption plan, was he actually entered into his creation in order to bring us back into relationship with him, into wholeness with him.